Hey guys, how's it going? Like Butter here. Welcome back to another Division video. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my solo Strikers build. Now, when I made a Strikers build, I'd say a couple of weeks ago, some people were upset because they thought that the build wouldn't do well on its own, which they're absolutely correct. It was like a 9k firearms, 3k stamina build, but it was meant to be used in a group with a healer, and so that makes it a dependable or a dependent build, meaning you need to depend on somebody else. So I told you guys if you wanted a solo striker build that I'd be more than happy to make that. So I went ahead, made a solo strikers build, and I want to share it with you guys today. So the big differences between my other striker build and this build is that we're actually going to be running 9k stamina because the sustain is extremely important, especially if you are soloing in the dark zone or you're doing PvE content. Now, as far as PvP goes, PvP as a solo player isn't usually going to work out very good if you're playing against an entire group. Like, there's really, with the 6-piece sets being so incredibly strong, when you go up against a group that all has 6-piece bonuses, say for example you got one Nomad, they got one Reclaimer, one Predator's Mark, and one Striker, you're not gonna, no build is gonna help you kill that entire squad unless they are incredibly just not very good at the game and super uncoordinated as a team. So this build is actually meant to sustain you in PvE combat and will also beat almost every other build in the game 1v1. I was playing against some players that were running Nomad, that were running Predator's Mark, and this was absolutely destroying all of them. So let's go over what I have in this build and some minor tweaks if you are going to use this build specifically in PvP. This is more of a PvE build for me, but it does work in the dark zone against other players, I promise. I made sure to test it and made sure that this is a very solid build all the way around. So let's go into the weapon. Now, we are using the Bullfrog just like I did in my 3k stamina build. However, this is a different Bullfrog. We're using Destructive, Vicious, and Uncomplicated here. The idea behind this build is that we're going to be mostly increasing our damage by 100%, so we're stacking as much enemy armor damage as physically possible so that you can run a full tank build. This is a full tank. I have health on almost every single major stat you can get, and we do a ton of damage still. So I'm running Destructive and Vicious. If you wanted to use something like Unforgiving, that's on you. I wouldn't recommend it because this build is going to have you healing for a lot, considering the healing scales off, every 3k stamina and the overall health that you have. I like running Vicious because it gives me that extra crit chance where I don't have to give up a ton of my major attributes on my gear to get crit chance, because that Vicious is going to be active like 95% of the time because of how much you're healing for. Especially when you take into consideration that you're going to be running a healing box as well. The stacking heals is just insane, even though your skill power is really low. If you notice, we're running an extremely low skill power here because we don't need sustain like we do on my Predator's Mark build. I run 130k skill power on my Pred Mark build with almost max skill haste, and the reason for that is because Predator's Mark as a set has no sustain. This build, however, does, since you're going to be healing a lot when you have a lot of stacks. So this is the FAMAS that I'm using. For my secondary, I am using a custom M44. Some people suggested to use a showstopper here. You can do that if you would like. I personally don't feel like it's necessary because the Bullfrog is a really close range weapon. You're going to be using it, medium to close range most of the time. So I felt like having a showstopper and a close range weapon together, if there were, any type of situations where I had 100 stacks, but the person was extremely far away, I would not be able to do enough damage to put them down. So I actually am running a custom M44 here with also, Destructive. You're going to see the big reason why we're running that is because we're stacking EAD on everything. So let's go over the mods on my Bullfrog. I am running as much crit damage on my Bullfrog as physically possible because of the fact that Vicious is going to be active most of the time. So I am running a Pro Red Dot sight here with headshot damage and crit chance. Don't forget, on this gun, you want to make sure, considering uncomplicated, the damage gets lowered the more, accuracy and stability you have on your mods. When you're using the Bullfrog, you don't want any stability or accuracy on your attachments. All the stability that you're going to need for the FAMAS are going to be from the passive stats on your strikers. So I'm running a SR7 suppressor with headshot damage and crit chance as well. Then I'm using a small grip with reload speed and optimal range. Don't forget, you don't want any accuracy or stability there. And then I am running a rate of fire mag with obviously extended mag and crit chance. Then on my sniper rifle, I am running a VX1 scope for maximum headshot damage. I am actually running a loud vent brake on my barrel. Now you can run a silencer here with headshot damage if you feel like you're going to be going for a lot more headshots. You can definitely do that if you would like, but I don't think I had like a good Omega rifle suppressor that I felt like I wanted to use, so I just used the SR7. You can use a Omega rifle suppressor if you'd like. And then I also have a small grip here. Now the reason I'm running a little more crit damage than usual is because you're going to see the talent that I'm running on my sniper rifle is a little unusual, but considering this is for PvE, having disciplined here is going to be huge because it's going to be critting a lot because of killing a target. Now, if this was entirely PvP, I'm sorry, I would use a different M44. I would use one with maybe like destructive and vicious or something. I don't know. I don't really like running a ton of crit chance on a sniper rifle, but with this build, the cool thing is that when you do headshot somebody and kill them, you are going to be getting that automatic crit. And on top of the 100 stacks that you're most likely going to have, that can output a ton of damage in PvE. Not many people run Disciplined. I tried it out. It's pretty cool. But there's not that many sniper, talents that work well with this type of build. So I tested it out and it seems to be pretty good. Like I said, if you want to do Destructive and Vicious, you can do that. Vicious is a really good pick here. But, that's just totally up to you. That's entirely up to whoever feels more comfortable with which talent. And then obviously I am running a low level 197 gear score pistol so that I can get cool headed unlocked, because this build runs no crit chance or excuse me, no skill haste whatsoever. So your skills are going to come off cooldown at really large intervals. So this is going to help a lot, especially if you're in the dark zone and you're PvPing and your supers on cooldown or your signature abilities on cooldown. It's going to help you get it back. Also running Predatory, you can run something else here if you would like, but Predatory is pretty good considering the stacking heals are just incredible. Not only that, but you're going to heal for 35% of your health, and you're going to see when we go to our character stats, our health pool is ginormous. So that's that. I'm just running, a Tyrant suppressor. Nothing too special there. And then let's go into the build itself. So obviously, since we're running 9k stamina, we're going to have stamina on everything except our gloves. Now, the only reason that is because I didn't have another set of gloves that were as good. You can play around here if you would like. If you have, say, for example, you have a chest piece that's really, really good and has the stats you want, but it's firearms, then you could, put stamina on the gloves. You'll figure out a way to do it. I'll just show how I have mine here. Now, this build is brand new. It's not optimized yet, which means my toughness is actually going to go up the higher my armor goes and the higher my rolls go on my gear. So 625k toughness is probably going to go up to like 650,000 once everything is min-max. So that's going to be pretty insane, but I'm saving a lot of my div tech for the new sets that are going to be coming out at the end of January when the new global event comes out. I want to do a Hunter's Faith build. I want to do an Alpha Bridge build. I want to do a Tactician's build. And I want to do a Firecrest build. So I'm going to keep as much div tech as I can, but I want to show you guys this build because this build is really good for solo if you like Striker. And, maybe you don't like Nomad as much. You want to feel like you do a little bit more damage, but also, have a lot of sustain. I think this is probably, in my opinion, the strongest build in the game currently, because if you run this build here, you get a ton of sustain through your stacks in the amount of healing that you get. You get a ton of health considering you're running a ton of stamina, and you get a ton of damage considering you're getting 100% damage output when you're at 100 stacks. So I think this is the most versatile build in the game currently, especially considering like one of the big counters to Striker was, you know, EMP Sticky. They completely neutered EMP Sticky. I'm not happy about that. It's a horrible, horrible skill now. It doesn't stagger. The reason they removed the stagger is because people were complaining about it being too overpowered to have the stagger and to completely remove the stacks. But then they made it so that it actually freezes your stacks. It doesn't remove them. So if you're at 100 stacks and someone disables you with a EMP Sticky, all you have to do is use a med kit and it's going to immediately put you back to the stacks you had before you were frozen. That's horrible, by the way. I don't like that. I think they need to re-add the stagger on the EMP Sticky, but that's just me. And so on our striker harness, we are running health, which you want to run on pretty much everything except the holster. On the holster, I'm running crit chance, but I have enemy armor damage here. Now, if you're doing only PvP, you might want to consider putting EDR here, exotic damage resilience, if you feel like Predator's Mark is like doing too much damage to you. There's a lot of pred marks in the dark zone currently. That's up to you. I run EAD just because I feel like with the amount of EAD I stack, even in PvP, EAD isn't as strong as it used to be because people have lower armor counts now. And when modifiers run through modifiers and run through modifiers, the amount of damage you get with each individual bullet with how much EAD you have kind of gets less and less. So a lot of people say enemy armor damage isn't good in PvP anymore. It seems to work out pretty good considering it's a consistent amount of damage. Even if you're doing a little bit more damage, that's consistent damage on every single bullet you hit. But mostly this EAD is for PvE because it's going to allow you to just shred through NPCs that have armor. So that's what I would do there. I wouldn't run skill haste. I don't think skill haste is important considering you're running such low skill power. You never want to run skill haste when you have super low skill power because even if your skills are coming off more often, coming off cooldown more often, if it's not really doing much, which your skills really aren't going to do much, it's really not that big of a deal. So I would consider either using EDR or EAD here. For my mods, we were running stamina on everything, considering I said I have firearms on my gloves. We're running crit chance mods on everything. There was a really good crit chance mod for sale this week if you get it before Friday. I'm not entirely sure where it was, but it's, I want to say it's at Camp Hudson or something like that. I think it's bottom left of the map. Yeah, I'm almost positive that's where it is. It's at Camp Hudson. It's at one of the vendors there. You can get that hopefully before the weekends if you are looking for that specific mod. It's almost max stamina. It's like 265, so it's 2 less than max, and it's got 1% crit chance. On my mask, I'm using the same mask that I used on my other build, but I rolled it for stamina. I'm running 8% EAD here, which is really important. Like I said, you can run crit chance here. If you don't have EAD, that's totally fine. But I'm stacking as much EAD as I possibly can because I want to output as much damage as possible while also being super tanky and healing a lot as well. So you can run crit chance here if you would like. Once again, like I said, crit chance on all of my stuff. So damage to elites here is really important considering this is more of a PvE build than a PvP build. That's going to allow you to do a large amount of damage, especially when you're at 100 stacks. And then I got my knee pads. I got health on my knee pads. Another stamina roll, of course. I rolled for damage to elites, which, like I said, really important in PvE. And then for all my performance mods, I am running 2% pulse critical hit damage. Now, the reason that's so important is because our crit chance, especially with pulse, is going to be decently high. That crit damage is really important because the crit damage is a little bit on the lower side considering we're not using crit damage on our knee pads and we're not using crit damage on our backpack. We're using as much health as we possibly can. So it's important to get those pulse critical hit damage mods there. For my backpack, I'm running health once again, stamina, ammo capacity. You always want ammo capacity on your chest and your backpack, especially if you play in the dark zone a lot and you PvP a lot. Running out of ammo can be a huge problem because you don't get resources back as much as you used to. They nerf that pretty hard. And once again, like I said, stamina, pulse, critical hit damage. You're getting as much crit chance here as you can to multiply your damage, especially when you're thinking, when you got to think you're getting 100% base damage when you're at full stacks. On top of the EAD, you're just going to be shredding even though you're a tank build. It makes absolutely no sense, but you guys will see that here in a second. So here on my gloves, now this is iffy here. I'm running, this is where I'm running the firearms, and I'm running crit damage, crit chance, and assault rifle damage. Now, I haven't tested this out, but you can try it if you would like. Instead of having the crit chance here, since we already have so much crit chance, you can try enemy armor damage on the gloves. I don't know what's going to do more damage, you know, over time, considering your crit chance is already pretty high, especially when you're pulsing. Is that 6% really going to make that big of a difference? I can tell you right now, 7.5% enemy armor damage probably will, but that's entirely up to you to try that. I haven't tested it myself, but it will be something that I try out in the future to see if it's a little bit better. I wouldn't run EAD, so pretty much you're running EAD on everything besides the gloves and knee pads, but if you want to try running EAD on those two things, I found running health on these things. I value 16,600 health over 4% enemy armor damage, especially if you're going to be playing PvP like at all. And then my holster, I'm running crit chance. Now, if you have health here, it wouldn't be a terrible thing. I just happen to have crit chance because this was one of the only holsters I had that had the rolls I wanted. But like, for example, this holster here, if I wanted to roll this and that, I could, but you know, this one's already min-maxed, so that's the one I went with. So let's go through the character here, and I'll show you guys like the amount of damage and crit chance we're at. So I'm at my sidearm right now, so let me actually go here and then go to character. Okay, so my crit chance on my bullfrog is 33.5% because don't forget, we are running vicious, which is helping that quite a bit. And our crit damage is just shy of 100%. Now, if I had 19% on my SR7 suppressor, I would be really close to 100%. 100% crit damage is not bad for an assault rifle, considering we have so much EAD and so much base damage from Striker. Headshot damage is 87%. Our stability is 30%, which is super important on the Bullfrog, especially considering that 30% is free stats. It doesn't affect the Bullfrog because it's a Striker bonus and not you know, bonuses on attachments, so that's super good. 28% damage to elites, 64% enemy armor damage. Like I said, if you're running that 7.5% on your gloves, or I think it might even go to 8%, then you will be over 70%, which is insane. You're going to do a ton of damage. Skill power is really low. Skill haste is extremely low. You know, all that stuff. But our health is 423,000, and that's not even maxed out. And our armor mitigation is 32.25%, which that can go up to, I think it's 33.5 in the dark zone. So if it goes to 33.5, and you know, we get our max rolls up on our health, we're gonna be pretty damn tanky, but also doing a ton of damage. So I actually want to teleport here to Lexington just to kind of show you guys the difference in running solo compared to my other build, which wasn't meant to run solo, but I made a mistake of like going and showing the damage output, and then people were like really angry because I had to use like med kits and whatnot to stay alive, because that's basically how glass cannon builds go. For my skills also, I'm running pulse and I am running the healing box. Sorry, my cat's trying to eat my pizza here. You're gonna need to get down. So this can also change depending if you're playing PvP. So if you're playing PvP, you actually want to use the Scrambler Pulse instead, but I am using this for PvE. And then in PvP, you want to be using Immunizer instead of Life Support. Life Support's good to have in PvE just in case you need it. But you're going to see here, regardless of how tanky this build is, you're going to be quite surprised with the amount of damage output that we're going to be doing. So remember, guys, this is a full tank build. Full tank build that we're allowing this amount of damage to be output, which is just absolutely insanity. So let's go up here and just to show you guys, when we start taking a little bit of damage, when we're at 100 stacks, the amount of healing is actually crazy. It's not as bad as it was in the PTS, but you're gonna see here it's pretty damn insane, considering, you know, the amount of damage that I should be taking from all this. You're gonna see in the bottom where my health is, just constant healing. Now, it doesn't look like I'm healing for a lot, but when you consider that I have 423,000 HP, that amount of healing that I'm getting is absolutely absurd. So I can sit here right in front. Look at that heal. Look at it. That's just, it's unbelievable how much heal we're getting. So you can even go in, when it comes to PvE content, you can go in and just tank. And even without any skill power whatsoever, you're just going to basically heal like through everything. So I'm healing here, even outside of my immunizer or outside of my box, it just does not matter. You're just going to heal through the amount of damage. Now, it's not crazy overpowered, like I said, it was in the PTS, but don't forget, you can also blow up your box to get that extra overheal. That's actually why I run a box. You don't need to. The amount of healing that you're going to get from the box is kind of irrelevant, but the good thing about it is that that box is going to give you a pretty big heal, way bigger than you would if you were to use like first aid self heal or like booster shot or something like that. You could try using booster shot if you want, but I'd much rather have that 33% heal, considering we're running so much health. You're getting an incredible amount of value out of that, considering, you know, it's healing off of a percentage rather than your skill power. So yeah, this build, I'm actually quite impressed with the amount of damage you can output, but also the amount of damage you can take, especially in solo missions where you're usually taking so much damage. So you can go through here, you're gonna see once I'm at 100 stacks, I'm gonna be healing too much for the NPCs to kill me. And then also our pulse is gonna allow us to output a good amount of damage. So it's just the EAD and the 100% damage that we're getting is just allowing us to do so much damage, even though we're a full tank build. And this will be a really good build for you guys. Now, I saw some people like to run 6k stam instead of 9k. For PvP, that might be a little bit better, but for PvE, I think 9k stam is incredibly strong, considering you do enough damage as it is with the 100 stacks. Now, when you get to really hard content, when it comes to, you know, like legendary content or, you know, resistance, that kind of thing, when you have a healer, you don't really need as much healing as this build will give you. So I would consider using my 9k firearms build on my, because you could definitely tell the difference in damage, right? On my 9k firearms build, when I'm at 100 stacks, I'm usually critting for around 280 to 290,000 on a headshot with the bullfrog. Now, when I'm at 100 stacks on this build, you're seeing a significant lower amount of a lower number. It's like something like 180. So I'm doing 200 or 100,000 damage less a bullet with this, especially considering, you know, not having competent and the other things that I run on my 9k build. It's definitely a huge damage difference, but like I said, if you're playing solo, the sustain is so nice. You're going to be able to just pretty much just heal right through anything it's got for you. So let's go through here, and we're just going to play through the rest of this mission. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. For talents, in case you guys are considering to use my talents, I'm running critical save, I'm running precision, on the move, and I'm running one is none. Now, the reason I'm running on the move is for PvE. Now, if you were doing PvP, on the move won't be as strong, but you got to remember resistance talents are going to be much more useful again on a build like this, considering you have so much health. If you know how resistance works, the more health you have, the more value you get out of resistance, which is why if, like, you know, armor was still a thing where you could roll on gear, it would just be so incredibly strong, especially with how crazy stamina is now. everyone would be just a gigantic tank. So let's go through and we can just, it feels good to be able to just kind of straight up tank everything. Now you may have to use your med box here and there to heal, which is, you know, that's completely normal, but for the most part you can just tank right through any type of damage if you're at 100 stacks. And because you're constantly healing so much, you're going to be over 2/3 health most of the time, so you're getting so much value out of Vicious. That's the cool thing about these types of builds where you're constantly healing is you're basically getting free crit, 10% crit chance, which is more value than you can get out of any other talent in my opinion. So we're just going to go through here. We're kind of just face tanking, you know, it's whatever. And yeah, this is like a really strong build for PvE and for PvP as well. You'd be surprised how helpful it is to be able to constantly heal against players, especially in Nomad. I had like a 1v1 with this guy that I popped his Nomad like 4 times, but it just didn't matter because with his Nomad build, he couldn't output enough damage to go through my healing when I was at 9k stam and 100 stacks. The healing was just too much. So and then when I'm at 100 stacks, I'm doing a ton of damage as well, so it's like kind of crazy. Now the damage on your sniper isn't going to be as much. You saw 540k there. Now on my other build I hit for a large amount, but then again we don't have any stacks here, so if we got our stacks up a little more, I'll show you guys the amount of damage your sniper will do now that we're at almost 90. So we're at 99. So we're, for a non-head or a headshot was like what, 690k, something like that. But you can do even more. What, is that Leray shooting me up there? But like I said, most of the damage you're gonna do now is gonna be through. Well, that's also probably because that guy didn't have armor. You're gonna do a lot more damage with armor. Yeah, see like 840k there. I'm choking so hard right now. What the hell? 800,000. So with a and I just killed that guy, right? So discipline's gonna proc next bullet. Where are you, Leray? I'm so bad. What the hell? All right, there we go. Anyways. So, like I said, Discipline might not be the best talent to run in PvE. Well, it's not bad. It's just not, you know, super strong. But I'll probably look for another M44 that I can use with this. But for the time being, it's not awful. But it blows my mind how much you can heal through everything. It's, I don't know. It's just, it's kind of crazy. It's already killed here to there. Let's clear this. And I don't feel like I'm not doing like damage either, you know, like I feel like I'm doing enough damage to get through content because of the stacking EAD and the 100 stacks. It just kind of carries the damage while you can just tank everything. But that's basically it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to drop the video a like. I know it was a really long one, but wanted to do kind of an in-depth vid. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you next time. If you're new, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're super close to 200,000 subscribers. We might even hit it by the time this video's up. So I want to thank you for all the support. You guys are fantastic. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care, everybody.